Welcome back, HS. I'm Zach Vitoshik.
And I'm Mackenzie Britton.
And this is
The Res.
This week is all about reading.
But reading is boring.
Not to me. People have been writing literature for around 3,500 years.
What would they even write about?
Massive poems called epics were definitely a favorite with the people.
Speaking of favorite writings, hey Devin, didn't you ask this week's A-Walking question?
I sure did. I went around asking this week's A-Walking question, and this is what you had to say.
Harry Potter.
My favorite book is Scarlet from the Lunar Chronicles.
The Hungry Caterpillar. High school.
My favorite book is an ongoing, continuously updated fan fiction of Pokemon. If you were to print it out, it would have approximately 10,845 pages.
I don't read.
My favorite book is Dr. Seuss because he's cool.
Those were some very interesting answers. My favorite book is The Outsiders. Back to you guys.
I prefer playing sports to reading.
Well, I have something for you then. Hey Dylan, how are Indian athletes doing?
Let's find out in this week's Res Sports.
He may be the greatest athlete of all time. There is mustard on the lettuce.
Softball won a game against Princeton last Friday with a score of 18-2, and girls soccer played Waxahachie and won 2-0. Saturday, powerlifting had a meet at the junior high. Here are some highlights of that.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends and new, and ways to grow. Oh, reading rainbow. I can be anything.
Monday, softball played Palmer and won 13-3. On Tuesday, baseball played Mineral Wells. Girls soccer played LSOC and won 3-0. And boys basketball won against Faith Family. Then on Thursday, baseball had a game against Mineola Attorney. That's all for this week, HS. Back to you guys.
Reading doesn't make you special. Everyone can do it.
Well, that hasn't always been the case. In fact, in the Middle Ages, one differentiation between the poor and the rich was the ability to read.
Let's wig out for reading.
Hey HS, it's Stacey Hadley, and today we're going to be asking TLB members why they joined TLB and why reading is one of their favorite hobbies.
Hi, my name's Jake Branham. I'm the Vice President of the Teen Library Board, and I joined Teen Library Board because I have a lot of leadership opportunities here. I'm able to expand myself as a leader and also help others grow as individuals. And reading is my favorite hobby because I write a lot.
Hi, I'm Macy Threadgill, and I joined the Teen Library Board because I love the library, and reading is one of my favorite hobbies because I love being literate.
Hi, I'm Dylan Garrett, and I joined TLB because of the amazing community service opportunities that we have in the organization. And reading is my favorite hobby because I love learning new things.
That's all for this week's WIG. Thanks so much, AHS.
That was literally informative.
You literally used that word correctly.
I literally think literally is a masterpiece of a word.
Speaking of a masterpiece, let's literally watch this week's Masterpiece Theater.
Masterpiece Theater presents Slater's Short Stories, where Slater dazzles you with tales of heroism, romance, and plot holes. And now, here is Slater.
Oh hi, my name's Slater Martin, and I wanted to take y'all on a literary adventure to see one of history's greatest writers, H.G. Wells. If you don't know who H.G. Wells is, he wrote Time Machine and The Invisible Man. This story is called The Hammer Pond Park Burglary. Our story starts with a thief whose name is Mr. Watkins. And Mr. Watkins reads in the paper that two very rich nobles named Lady Aveling and Lord Aveling just got married. And Lady Aveling has just gotten a very expensive jewelry set for a wedding gift. He decides he wants that jewelry set. So he goes to where they decided to have their honeymoon, Hammer Pond Park, at the Hammer Pond house. Now he decides to go under the guise of a painter, and as thieves go, he's actually not that bad of a painter. Now when he gets there, he sets up his canvas and he begins to paint, and he doesn't really care about the painting. He's more or less scouting out the house, seeing how the guards move and whatnot. That way he can find a good in and out once he steals the jewels. But people start coming over to him saying, "Oh, where did you study art? Oh, what technique are you using? Oh, did your academy put you well with people? What kind of colors do you like to use? And he's just saying, let me paint, because he just wants to see the house. Now, later on he gets to painting the background, and he uses a very strong color of green. And he can hear people in the background saying, what on earth is he going to do with that beastly green? And then someone else says, he's either an absolute genius or an insane maniac. Now, he gets annoyed, so he decides to move to the other side of the house. That way he can paint in peace. And once his painting is complete, he has a full layout of the entire building, right here. He brought with him this little foldable ladder, and he was going to use the ladder to get into the window, steal the jewels, and sneak out before the guards made their run back through. However, he came up on a problem. You see, he was tackled from behind, and as soon as he hit the ground, he saw two men grabbing at him. You see, he was caught. Now, it was a little bit blurry for his memory, but he fell unconscious, and then when he woke up, he was laying down in front of a policeman. He thought he had been caught. But then the policeman said, "Good job catching those two burglars." He was very confused. You see, the policeman had saw those two men attack the painter, Mr. Watkins, and he thought that perhaps they were going to use the ladder, which was Mr. Watkins' ladder, but they didn't know that, to climb up the window. A good plan, Mr. Watkins' plan, but they had thought that it was for the two men. They arrest the two thieves, and then Lord Aveling comes up. He says, "I'd like to shake your hand, sir. You see, you've saved my honeymoon." Now, Mr. Watkins is still rather confused about the whole thing that's been going on, but he goes along with it and says, "Oh, no problem. All part of the plan, you know?" So after Lord Aveling had told him how grateful he was, he invited him into his house to join the party. Mr. Watkins said, "This is burgling in style." Later that night, they had allowed him to stay at the house, as he had been brutally attacked. And the next morning, they could find no sign of the jewels or Mr. Watkins. The end. What an interesting story, huh? Really tells you that maybe not everything is as simple as it seems. Maybe it's to show that we don't quite know the circumstances of every action. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful, reading-filled day.
This has been Slater's Short Stories. Now go out and read your own story so that others have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, I understand why people read, but how can people read for hours?
If you give me a good book, I could read for days.
We have some people who think like that on this week's Indian Interview Time.
They were singing, my, it's Indian Interview Time, where we interview some Indians and have a good time. So sit back and watch this interview time, 'cause it's Indian Interview Time, Indian Interview Time.
Hello HS, I'm Abram Sharp and I'm here with Miss Crumpton, the librarian. So Miss Crumpton, how did you get into being a librarian?
Well, before I answer that, I'm very excited that we're having Literature Week episode, because that is amazing. And it goes right along with our WIG, our wildly important goal to increase everybody's Lexile by 100 points. So I would like to shout out and say thank you to the Res for doing that. Of course, most of the Res is on Teen Library Board, so I kind of feel like I had a small part of it. How did I become a librarian? Well, that's a really long story that I won't bore you with. But the main part that I did is you have to teach in the state of Texas for at least 5 years to be a part of a library program. And then once you have your bachelor's degree and you have a teacher certification and you've taught for 5 years, you can apply to a master's program to become a Texas librarian. So I went to UNT, go Eagles, and graduated from there and received my diploma or my master's of education, my master's of library science, and I also have an accreditation with Texas Library Association and American Library Association, and those three things make me a public school librarian.
So what level of schooling did you have to go through?
You have to have a bachelor's of education and you have to have a master's degree in library science to become a public school librarian. If I wanted to be a public librarian, that would mean I would have to go back to school and get that certification as well.
What's your favorite part about being a librarian?
My favorite part, there's so many. It's like asking, when people ask me, who's your favorite child or what's your favorite book? But my favorite part of being a high school librarian is the students, because I get to be a part of a lot of things that they're doing in the library, such as their classwork, finding a book. I get to be a part of their future successes when they're applying for colleges. So I guess my favorite thing about being a librarian is getting to see everybody do something different, but everybody using their time wisely in the library to create success.
So who inspired you to become a librarian?
There were two main people, if I have to say so myself, that really pushed me into not necessarily becoming a librarian, but becoming someone who loves to read, which in turn fueled my need to be a librarian. But the first one was my dad. Ever since I've been a part of my dad's life, he has had a book. Like, no matter where he is, no matter what he's doing in his life, he always had a book, and he was always sitting there reading it. And that translated into I wanted to kind of do the same thing, so I would grab books as well. The second person that inspired me was my kindergarten teacher, Miss Banks. Here's the reason why. She taught me that no matter what I do in my life to be successful, but even if it wasn't the best I could do, I'm still moving forward. And like to this day, if I do something, because she's still teaching, and I'm 40 years old, and she's still teaching. She's not teaching kindergarten, she's teaching second grade. But anytime I ever do something in my life, like when I graduated college with my bachelor's and my master's degree, when I got my position to be a librarian, she calls me and tells me, I know you could do it, you're doing great, and then she'll just kind of hang up and go on to the next thing. But she really has pushed me to be the person I am today because she never gave up on me. Even if it wasn't the plan that I had, she still knew that I could do the best at it, whatever I was doing in my life. And that kind of inspired me to keep pushing and keep doing and keep going with my education.
So what is TLB, and how do people become a part of it?
Well, I'm glad you changed the subject from talking just about me, because I do want to talk about other things that are in the library. And TLB is Teen Library Board. And the biggest misconception about Teen Library Board is you have to love to read to be in the club. And that is not true. And a good example is sitting right there, Abram Sharp. You just have to want to support the library or be a part of what's going on in the library. We don't sit in a circle and read favorite books and read quotes all day when we meet. We try to do things that not only help the library, but also show people what the library has to offer them. We also do a lot to support the community, which is probably one of my favorite parts of Teen Library Board, because we've done things such as we built a little library, the little free library that's in the park, Way Park right now. We've done a sock drive, we've done a back to school supply drive, we've done, what else have we done?
Canned food drive.
Canned food drive. So we're trying to show that no matter where you are in your life, the library always needs to be a part of it. But if you would like to join TLB, we have plenty of applications in the library if you want to come by and pick one up. Now, lots of people always ask, well, why do you have to do an application? Why can't you just be in the club? We need to know that you really are serious about it, because it is time consuming and it's one more thing on your list, and we want to make sure that you're actually going to make a commitment to Teen Library Board instead of just putting it on your resume and saying that you're a part of something.
Now, isn't there also a fundraiser going on right now?
We do have a fundraiser going on right now. I'm glad you said something about that. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we sell hot chocolate on a cart in the hallways, and it's $1 a cup. What we're going to do with that money is we are going to use it to go to Barnes & Noble in Cedar Hill on April 23rd, and we purchase books for the library. So what's nice about that trip is it's student choice. It's not anything that I want. It's not anything that I think needs to be in the library. It's all based on what students think that we need in the library. So it's an awesome trip, because we usually come home with about 200 to 300 books that I had no part of, and that everybody else, or the students of age that are in the Teen Library Board, bought. And so we have a lot of people that are like, oh, I love this book so much. And that's awesome, because it came from their peers rather than something I chose.
Thank you so much for your time, Ms. Crumpton. That'll conclude this episode of Indian Interview Time. And if you have any questions about TLB or anything going on in the library, just head to the library and ask Ms. Crumpton or Ms. Gilbert.
Thanks.
How talented do you think you have to be to write a book?
Probably pretty talented. And speaking of talented, it's time in which we highlight the skilled,
The funny.
the literary,
And the talented. It's time for this week's
Shenanigans.
Hi, and welcome back to Zacey's Story Reading. The library has so many classic novels, such as Dragon Ball Z, Volume 1 through 3. As usual, I'll be reading a bunch of pages from this beautiful novel. One peaceful day, 5 years after the events recounted in Dragon Ball. Whew. Huh? What? It's a meteor or a UFO. I gotta see. Vroom vroom. It's incredible. Not a meteor. Clean. So the inhabitants of this world are still alive. Curse that Kakarot. Stop. Who are you? Beep, beep. Power level only 5. What a planet. Just stay away. I'm warning you. Wah! Pap. Ah! No! Plap. What a story. Well, catch you next time.
Now it's time for a word from our sponsor, Tribal Tees.
For all your shirts,
hoodies,
senior pictures,
and graphic design needs.
see Tribal Tees.
Come join the tribe. And now it's time for a word from our other sponsor, Johnson County Pipe.
Johnson County Pipe Supply is a family-owned and operated manufacturing company providing local jobs for over a decade. Our industry-leading position in the ever-growing construction industry is also seeking self-motivated, hard-working individuals with integrity. No experience necessary, just a willing attitude, and bilingual is a plus. So if you're looking to work in a year-round manufacturing, safe, friendly environment with competitive pay and full-time benefits, look no further than down the pipeline, just off 67 on County Road 209.
Tell them you saw this ad on the rail.
An independent company of the Thompson Pipe Group. Must be 18 to apply, must apply in person.
And now it's time for this week's general announcements.
Don't forget to buy our yearbook, only $25.
Also, don't forget to drop by your school library to pick up a good book.
Well, that's all for this week, HS. Keep that Purple Pride alive, and until next time, I'm Zach Vitoshik.
And I'm Mackenzie Britton.
And this is
The Res. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Dylan.
But reading is boring.
Corey, you kind of started.
You guys are some interesting thoughts.
So how hard, like what school, like how?
Are you rapping? Like.
And then do you have the special ending? Or is it just